Hey Mercedes.
I'm listening.
Exactly this, but just bigger and better. Guys, this is the brand new Mercedes VLE. It's a complete reset for their van world. This is their Grand Limousine, as they call it, and this is the exclusive version. And honestly, it feels like it's even more luxurious than the new Mercedes S-Class. Check this out. What an incredible upgrade for Mercedes vans. And actually, to call this a van is an insult. This is the first time that a Mercedes MPV of this kind has been built from the ground up to be luxurious for passengers. That's what the VLE is. That's why they call it a Grand Limousine. And look, you've got these incredible seats that are, honestly, they feel like they are even beyond the S-Class. And then some incredible party tricks. Hey Mercedes, turn on the cinema experience. Absolutely incredible. It's stunning. It's, like I said, a level beyond S-Class. This is the top version, but there's so much more to talk about with VLE. From this all the way down to the standard one, which I think is actually pretty awesome as well. So guys, the VLE is based around a whole new Mercedes platform, like I said, called the VAN.EA, Van Electric Architecture. And do not think that your commercial vehicles that will be based on this architecture are going to look anything like this. Mercedes have confirmed that the commercial vehicles are going to look very different. So you're not going to turn up at a set of lights driving this and then a commercial car looking the same as yours in design. They're going to be split apart, which is great. The other thing about this all-new electric platform is how it destroys the previous EQV. I mean, we're talking almost 700 kilometers of range in the Range Monster version, which is almost double what that car was giving, so hugely impressive. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about all the electric versions that you can get and that you will be able to get in the future. I'm going to tell you about a car that actually is going to sit above this in terms of luxury, which is going to be incredible. I want to tell you what I think is going to happen with the ICE and plug-in hybrid versions of the VLE going forward. And finally, I have got 4 different cars to show you in a few different trim levels, different specs, different wheels. So we're going to check out all of that today. Now guys, talk about this big van reset that the VLE is bringing in. We need to go into the past, and we need to go right back to the start, 1996, when upon the Vito platform, a new car came, which was the V-Class. Named very specifically because it sounds more like the passenger cars. This was a front-wheel driven car based on that commercial car, petrol and diesel engines, and the first test bed to see would Mercedes customers want an MPV based towards luxury. And it turns out they did. It sold well, and it led into the W639. And this one was renamed actually from V-Class to V-A.N.E. Still have absolutely no idea why. And this shifted from front wheel drive to then rear wheel drive now. In this version, we had higher trim levels. So we went into like the avant-garde trim. And this also introduced things like the long and the extra long wheelbase and generally better refinement on the drivetrain and just the livability in terms of luxury. But it was still, again, very much based on a van first. And this sold up until 2014, which for then 10 years, the V-Class name came back again. This was our predecessor, and things got better in terms of luxury, both inside, where we were bringing in more from E-Class and S-Class in terms of the digital life with this car, where we finally eventually got things like MBUX, things like having Airmatic in the car finally in the latter versions, and generally a big push forward, but still undeniable that it shared its design and its look and its basis with the commercial car. And we also, in this generation, got the first ever electric one, which was the EQV. And those had a pretty large battery, etc., and gave good range. It's still an electric car based on a combustion car, fundamentally. That is a fact. Our VLE doesn't do this. It's from the ground up, brand new platform specifically meant to be for great electric range and luxury. And it's pretty undeniable that when you look at the figures in a minute, they've really achieved a much better car than what they had before. Now, just initially to talk about the dimensions of this car, the standard one is now going to be the same kind of size as the long of our previous 447 generation. and it's already longer than that one. So the standard one is longer than even the long. It sits at about 5.3 meters, and we are going to have a long version later that's going to be potentially even longer than an S-Class as our extra long version. It looks wider, it looks taller and beefier. Jamie behind the camera described it as kind of looking like a sumo wrestler, and I don't disagree. And there's a lot of design highlights that kind of give it that aggression, and we'll talk about that later when we look around it more closely. Now, just starting at the shell of this car, you start with things that you would normally associate with a luxury car like the S-Class. For example, we have comprehensive ceiling and sound insulation from front to rear. We've got noise insulating glass throughout the car. We've got a CD value of 0.25, which is better than some of their passenger cars. Then our body shell itself, Mercedes say, is exceptionally rigid, which is a good start for any car. Let's talk about the electric side now. We're starting with the battery. It's a 115 kilowatt usable size, which is huge. And this is based on an 800 volt system. So you can charge at 400 volt stations. So you can get something like 320 kilometers in just 15 minutes of charging, which again, really, really impressive. Then we have a battery here that can actually be serviced and repaired. So things like the electronics and the electric unit itself can be removed, replaced and repaired, which is fantastic. We've got bi-directional charging. So from your car to your home, it can store your home's solar energy and then pump it back in, or from your car back to the grid as well, making this so versatile in terms of the charging available to you. On our wheels, we also have recuperation of up to 200 kilowatts, which is pretty damn amazing. Then we come to our motors, which actually have unique motors inside this to be even quieter thanks to the changes here. And that is because this is a long distance vehicle. So in your VLE 300, you have the singular motor in the front. You go for the 4MATIC version, that's coming later, and you'll get another PSM motor in the rear. Regardless of that, we have the silicon carbide inverter, which is great. And if you have the 4MATIC version, they also have the DCU disconnect like we've seen in the top 4MATIC Mercedes cars, where you can decouple the front axle when you're not using it, and it'll only come in when required, which is saving something like 90% of efficiency. Now we start off with two versions for our electric versions. First, the VLE 300, the front wheel driven version. This has got 271 horsepower. This is the range monster with 700 kilometers claimed range and a 0-60 of around about 9 seconds. Coming later in the year will be the VLE 400 4MATIC, which has that additional motor in the rear. This has got 415 horsepower and a pretty amazing 0-60 of around 6 seconds. Now, just coming back to how far this has come from the EQV, just look at the differences here in pure figures between these cars. I mean, it is huge, whether it's the battery size, whether it's the actual voltage system, the range that we're getting out of this, the performance we're getting out of this. This is the benefit of having a platform built for the fact that this is going to be electric from the get-go. Now, the other great thing is we will have other versions of this, including an entry-level version that'll use an 80 kilowatt LFP battery. That's going to come next year, I believe, and they're saying that's going to be like a VLE 250. In Europe, that's going to start at around about 57K, apparently. But these are preliminary figures, so just bear that in mind. So there will be more accessible versions of VLE to come later on as well. Another element which is hugely important for a car like this is the fact that it can tow 2.5 tons, which again, just because it's an EV doesn't exclude it from that. It needs to be able to do it in this format of car, considering the things that this type of car normally does tow. So it's great that we can do up to 2.5 tons. Furthermore, we have Airmatic as an option, as we had in the previous generation, but it's been brought up a level in this now. It uses data from Google Maps for the first time in order to make your ride more comfortable, thanks to the map data that's supplied to our adaptive dampers. So that will hopefully make this an even more, luxurious drive. What we expect really of a true Mercedes-Benz rather than a van trying to pretend to be one. And finally, the final point, we do have up to 7 degrees rear wheel steering in this, which helps to reduce your turning circle to mimic the new CLA, which again, very impressive considering the size of this car. Now guys, I want to get to my favorite point in this particular car, which is the design, because it is such a difference to what we've been used to in the past. And the other thing that excites me about it is that it's going to be set apart from the commercial cars. Of course, this is all based on the Vision V that we brought to you guys. Loved that car, you loved that video. The Vision V was really exciting, and really that previewed more what we're going to see in the future from a more luxurious version that I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But fundamentally, in terms of design, very similar. That grille was previewed then, the lights were previewed then, the swoopier look on the side, the bigger wheels, all of that car gave us an idea. And to be fair to Mercedes, they've brought it into now this, which is the final version. Now guys, let's talk about where this car sits in the market, because there's not a lot of great luxury MPVs, certainly in the electric side of the market. In the hybrid side, you've got something like Lexus LM, which is an impressive car, arguably not as luxurious or as technically focused as this car, particularly in regards to software, etc. You have the ID Buzz from VW, but that's not really limousine level. The only real future threat may be coming from China and their cars, but at the moment, Mercedes sitting really quite pretty on a niche of their own here, sitting with really I think the word is right, it is a Grand Limousine of luxury. Now I can feel you screaming and sending energy through the screen at me, that Raz, that's fine. But what about the ICE and the plug-in versions? Well, Mercedes have confirmed that they are working on a modular architecture on this whole new VAN.EA, let's call it VAN.CA, a combustion architecture, which will then feature ICE and plug-in hybrid models. They haven't abandoned that. Apparently there's a bit of a U-turn that I read about a few years ago where they were just going to go electric, but they aren't now, so that is definitely coming. It's not right now, it's going to be in the future. This is a modular architecture, and I expect that we're going to have the same type design that's going to come in the combustion versions. So that's definitely happening. I just can't tell you when, so I'm sorry about that. We have a number of different looks as well, which is interesting. We have different trim levels. So let's have a look at each of these, because they each have their own interesting points, their own flavor, which is great, and their own attractiveness. So let's check every single one out. So today's episode of RBR is once again sponsored by NordVPN. Now, a lot of phones and devices have inbuilt VPNs now, but the control that Nord has always given us, like choosing your region, which for me has been brilliant, because when I've been abroad and I want to access my UK Crunchyroll or Netflix library or watch history, then it's easy to do. And it gives me peace of mind when using public Wi-Fi's, protecting my data, my cards, etc., etc. So it's great as a VPN. But one product these guys have done recently that has been game-changing for things other than VPN is this thing called threat protection. Now, this is something you can turn on without turning on the VPN. And what Nord essentially wanted to do was make your internet browsing experience like it used to be back in the good old days, when you didn't have these horrible websites with malicious ads you can't get rid of, and these websites that would track you and make a profile about you. Tell me if this hasn't happened to you. Like, I was searching for coffee machines, and for the next 20 days, all you see everywhere is coffee machine ads. And it's really annoying. Threat protection puts an end to all of that. It puts an end to the profiling. It gets rid of the malicious malware on these websites. Heck, it will even scan files you download for you to make sure they are safe for extra peace of mind. It's also really easy to turn on. Let me show you how to do it. It's within the NordVPN app itself. All you do, you go into the app. You don't need to turn on the VPN if you don't want to. You hit this shield button here, and then you've got threat protection, knock it on, and that is it. It can be turned on independently of your VPN. So there you go, so easy. And then you've got a much more peaceful internet browsing experience. And if you turn on the VPN, even better, because you've got that much more protection. Now, of course, as an RBR viewer, I've got you a great deal. Use the link below and go to NordVPN/RBR. And on a 2-year plan, you'll get 4 months extra free. And for peace of mind, you got Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee as well. So well worth trying it. So that's NordVPN.com/RBR. And you'll just have a more peaceful browsing experience. Guys, a huge thanks to you guys for always supporting our amazing regular sponsors. Now, let's get back to the car. Right, guys, we're going to start from the top down. Don't be naughty, boys. And we're going to start with the exclusive one first, because this is absolutely gorgeous. This is really an S-Class Grand Limousine MPV. It looks incredible. And it starts with the front end, where, like you saw, they brought in a lot from Vision V. We all loved the Vision V concept, but we're all skeptical. How much of this is really going to come into a final production version? I'm pleased to say that so much of it has. The grille is, of course, like we said, linked to the GLC, and you have the thick retro-style chrome border with the little dots in here that were inspired by cars like the the W116, etc., really working well now in the modern day with just a slight highlight of your ambient lighting around the edge, which I think looks good, and then your classic Mercedes bars. You have got the light beam on the front, the connected light bar, with, of course, Mercedes stars. We have no shortage of Mercedes stars these days. This links, again, quite directly to S-Class. And I think this bar light looks better on VLE than it does on CLA and things like GLB. It just seems to suit this size of car better. We also have the power domes, which I didn't think were going to translate onto the production version. They have, and they actually look great. They really give it a look that we haven't seen in this type of van before. And then in your exclusive version, again, just like Vision V, you've got that lovely chrome trim that goes across the side, and it actually really widens the front. In some ways, I think more than even the AMG line. So that front end of the exclusive is beautiful. We come around the side of it, you've got these huge monoblock AMG wheels that you would recognize hopefully from the AMG G63. They're massive, 22 inches, beautiful. These are available, and I'll show you the other wheel finishes in a minute in a black finish as well. And then what's even nicer on the side view, like they showed us on Vision V, they were going to go for a slopier roofline, and they've certainly done that with the window line, which is really nice. So it looks, you know, less van-like, right? You've got the recognizable modern-day Mercedes door handles as well. These are finished now with a more mechanical click like we saw in GLC, so much easier to open and close. And then another little trick that they showed us actually, which is really cool. Is it going to work? It is working on the inside. Give it a second. You actually have the ability to open the windows on the sliding doors now as well, which that's pretty damn cool, right? So a lot of thought has gone into this element, and even more on the other side. Let me show you something cool over there. Now this really wowed me. I wasn't expecting it, and apparently it's standard. That's cool, right? And it's very convenient, and it's a bugbear in me with my E53. I have to keep doing the flap. This is nice and convenient. And the other cool thing is they thought about this beforehand, that if you've got that plugged in and you want to open the door stops there, so it doesn't go and cut your plug off or something. So it sounds like an obvious thing, but it's good in terms of utility. Now, let's talk about the rear, where they've brought in something else from the concept. Then we come around the rear end, and they've brought in the arc light, again, that we first saw in Vision V. Now in Europe, you only get the two sides of the arc to light up when the car is normally there. Other territories will have the full thing in standby operation as well. But when you are braking, then you do see the entirety of the arc light, which then it looks really quite stunning, doesn't it, when you see the entire thing, just like we had in the Vision V. It's a shame Europe is what it is with these things, but hey, rest of the world can enjoy it in standby, and you'll have to enjoy it when this car is braking. What's cool is convenience. They've maintained that here, where you can load easily thanks to the hatch here. And then you've even got Mercedes-Benz. This is quite nice. I like that little detail, having Mercedes-Benz. So very nice, and that's your exclusive. Very kind of, it's almost bordering on my back. Certainly up there with S-Class. And again, it makes me think, how far could they go with VLS? Very interesting. Now, I was not expecting to see a big Patagonia red finished VLE today. Me and Jamie were having a bet. What colors are we going to see? We often do that before we come into a secret filming area. And this was not on our bingo cards. And who would have also thought that an AMG line V-Class type car could look this good? It looks properly nice. Now this is the same body style as the AMG line you just saw, but this is AMG line Plus because it changes things a little bit in terms of trim level. From that angle, I think it really looks a lot like GLC Electric. Obviously a part of that is the lights and the grille and the front air intakes, etc. But it's also the fact that we have the Night Package 2 on here. Night Package 2 takes those chrome elements, like the big grille here, and darkens it into a dark chrome. The same with our grille here, which is, again, a dark chrome. Something I didn't mention when we looked at the AMG line just now was the fact that these elements within the grille don't light up like the GLC, which to me is quite a weird thing, right? Because It looks the same. They were clearly developed at the same time. I think a buyer coming into this would expect for the animations to be playing here, and the dots are there. It's a bit of a strange one. It still looks good, but your expectations are kind of, you're like, oh, that's a shame. That minor point aside, I love Patagonia red in this. I love the night package. I reckon a black car, like an obsidian black metallic, with this is going to look something like that Vision iconic Batmobile car, but in an MPV, which would be amazing. So that's looking really nice. You see the bigger AMG wheels here as well, as we saw in the other car. I think the monoblocks would look great here as well, but these are a nice design, obviously aero optimized. And then our window line, the coupe-like window line, if you like, as they call it, is blacked out here with the night package. Our lower trim on our door down here is blacked out as well. Rear is exactly the same, but what I really want to show you is a very, very AMG looking interior, isn't it? Whether it's the stitching with the red stitch there, the use of microfiber here, the type of stitching pattern is very AMG. The red seat belts. I mean, for an AMG fan, this is pretty cool in terms of an interior to sit in, or a family car that you can have. This one's in our 6-seat configuration, and it's also got a slightly different element in the boot, which I'll show you in a minute. But again, this shows you how different this car can look. Memorize what this one looks like, and then we're going to compare it to that exclusive car in a second, which has a totally different look and feel on the inside. You look at the front end of this, so much more AMG looking, isn't it? Obviously the ambient lighting helps, but that's the point of the themes. We're running that racing theme in this one with the racetrack in the background, sportier driver zone. You've got kind of a mock carbon fiber here in the trim, which looks really nice. Yeah, this is a much more AMG feeling front end. And again, memorize this for when we see the exclusive car. Now, when we come around the rear and we open this hatch, you see a different option here where you can have a load area on top of here. And that's quite useful, you know, whether you want to put umbrella, shopping bags, a few other bits and pieces, and you don't necessarily want to have it lower down. And then look, extra storage down here in this little extra option as always. It's a nice thought. It's a really nice thought. That's not to say then you still haven't got the space as you open up. You do still have some space, but then this is an option. If you want that, you can have that in the car as well. You may have noticed this is the one coming later, the VLE 400 4MATIC. And to me, from that angle, it's probably the best looking of the rear ends of this particular car with the arc light. And everything just looks really good. The contrast between the red and the black, might pick this one. Guys, this is our totally standard base version, okay? There's a few options on this car, but you won't notice them in terms of design, really. And that is a good looking start, isn't it? You've got the traditional executive Mercedes grille. You've got the star on the bonnet. You've got the lovely lights. You've got air curtains and everything that kind of match the best of Mercedes luxury. It's good. There is a certain rugged element to it when you get closer. Our grille has got just the gloss black inserts rather than the dotted design, which it doesn't look bad, it just looks different. When you look at our air curtains and our lower bumper, you've got a rougher plastic finish. But generally, it's good looking. Give it slightly bigger wheels, you've got a really good looking Mercedes luxury van starting point. We have the new mirrors in here, like we've seen every new Mercedes lately, which is nice with the twin spokes. And I think I was expecting the luxury one to be black, but they've put the standard one in black, and I think it looks really quite good. You're still at the bottom, like your front lower bumper, plastic. It hasn't got the interesting trim pieces in there, so you can see this is what you get with the standard version at that price level. Still got our swooping chrome roofline, which is obviously finished in chrome in the standard version. Still have use of the utility of our hatch here, which is great. And you have the arc light, of course. And then, of course, your lower bumper, again, finished in that rougher plastic. So this, to me, feels like, A, it's a starting model, and B, if you want that kind of mix between utility and still having luxury, probably a good choice considering what the lower end is in terms of materials. One thing I want to show you guys on the key, there is an actual button there to open the doors, and you can configure that to open either one or both of the doors in this car. Now this is your completely standard interior, and with the standard trim as well. You can see here it's actually called a paper trim. It's paper based. I think it's a recycled paper. And you can see even in this trim level of car, this is a pretty well appointed interior. What's great is in terms of utility and living with, you can arrange these seats any way you want, and the rail system has completely changed. First of all, in the past you had to get the seats put in the exact right spot. V-Class customers will know what I'm talking about. You don't have to do that anymore. You pop it on the rails, you slide it, and they lock in. Secondly, if you want to take these off, they actually sit on wheels. So you can pop all of them out, roll them into your garage rather than having to carry them. It's just so much easier than what you had to do in the past. And our final car has something called seat ballet, where you can digitally move the seats around. Wait for that, because that is actually quite cool. But as an interior that this car begins with, this is already better than most of the V-Classes that I've sat in. And I've sat in a lot of V-Classes going to and from press events. And I promise you, this standard one is a really good start. Particularly looking from here, from the rear to the front, where things look so different. I mean, this view, I will go into the detail of this new system in a minute, but look how cool that looks, just for the standard trim car with the ambient lighting, with the stars, with the Mercedes logo there. You can see even the door trims with the ambient lighting there, looking good. That is a good looking base interior. You'll notice there is a big gap here. So this is your first center console option, which is the smallest one, still has the wireless charging element that allows you to walk through, and I'll show you that on the next car that we're going to look at. This car is in the 7-seat layout, so we have big 3-row bench in the back. One thing I will say, you look at this and you expect it to pop out and to be something you pull. It's not, it's just a trim piece, and the only function it has is just the touch element, and it sits. Now, this is above the standard. This is our AMG line. There is AMG line Plus above it, which was the red one. In the AMG line, you will see the chrome elements everywhere, which in some specs works quite nice. For example, with this graphite car, to be able to see the chrome against the graphite, I think is quite nice. You can see a big difference between the standard front end and the AMG line now. Over here, in fact, you can see the plethora of different wheels we have. We have quite a few. They go from 19. 19 is where V-Class used to end. That was the biggest you could get. Now they start at 19. And you can see we've got standard wheels. They lead into some new AMG ones, which actually have the chevrons within the spoke, which is kind of weird. And they lead all the way to, I mean, the most epic wheels that you're ever going to see on a VLE, which is literally the monoblocks off the G63 and the GLS. So these look great, available in silver and in black. Now, the other great thing about this particular car that we have here is the seating arrangement. Here we have, I believe they call it the vis-a-vis seating, where you're opposite each other, and it's finished in that lovely beach brown that we first saw in the S-Class. Same type of stitch, same type of look. You can see we have our tables now actually within our armrests, rather than that separate unit that we used to have that was quite annoying. And with these mechanical seats, you can pop them out, just like we saw in the standard car, and they're on wheels. So this is great. You still have that luxury element, but in a way more luxurious looking interior. This is a beautiful, beautiful look with the beach brown. I mean, this is the place to be. Look at the ambient lighting that surrounds us. This does not look like a V-Class anymore. It just looks like somebody fed the S-Class too much food and it's grown into this behemoth Grand Limousine. I absolutely love it. Okay, my friends, now we're going to look at the third and most premium seating arrangement and the third form of the center console, and essentially the highest level that VLE will get to. So let's jump into the car, which actually we don't need to use the key to do, and just tap on the Mercedes handle. You hear the electric Mercedes sound come to life, and we jump in our executive interior. All new buttons and switchware everywhere now for V-Class. So if you're used to the old buttons and the cheapo looking ones, they are gone. And the other thing you can do with this system is select the left side and haha! Yes! We did it again, kids. Sorry, Jamie. So yeah, lots more control, so that's really cool. You'll notice this lovely thing here on the seat. Look at that, personal cup holder. Love it, and very satisfying to open and close. And here we are, this is the best version of the comfort seat that you can get, which is, like I said, pretty much on level, if not beyond S-Class. You've got your soft pillows, you've got the gorgeous Napa leather with the perforation. So within this grand comfort seat, you got a number of things. First of all, we have wireless charging, very obviously here, which is just about fitting this iPhone 17 non-Pro. I worry a little bit about these things because phones and technology do change, and the rumored iPhone Fold, for example, is going to be a more square phone, which ain't going to fit in here. So that is just food for thought because it's not really future-proofed, is it? But that's just one thing. So you have the wireless charging, you've got it in both of these seats here. Then your eye is drawn here because we have more. You have the controllers straight out of the S-Class that you can see here. And for example here, look, we've got seat comfort. So I can go in here, I can mess with the seat balance. We've got heated seats, which I don't want right now because it's boiling in here. Ventilated seats, I could use that, that's quite good. You've got other adjustment like lumbar, we've got interior light. We've got our ambient light settings as well, so I can change this to say something else and it'll change the entire light of the car. This is all pretty normal as you'd find, again, quite similar to what you find in S-Class. But then the more interesting side of things, we have what they call a screen garage up here for our cinema experience. You saw before, you can do it with the voice activation, or we can just do it on here. So if I tap on here, cinema mode, activate. So you hear the big sounds, and out pops the screen. Sun blinds go up, the ambient lighting actually changes so it gets a bit darker. The large panoramic roof here closes up, and out comes this 8K 30+ inch screen, which is going to be a game changer, right? In terms of not just entertainment, we're also talking games, and we're also talking doing work. A lot of cars, for example, talk about the fact that you can do video conferencing, right? And video conferencing in a car generally doesn't sound like a great idea. In this type of car, when you're able to sit in here, you can whip out a table in front of you, have your laptop here, you have a camera here that's able to focus on this seat and that seat concurrently. You can have split view, so you have your meeting going on, you have the slides on the other side, all of that makes sense. Split view gets even better when it comes to two people sitting together and having different content on the screen. Things get better in terms of the split screen, so we can go into here and split the screen up. So one person can be watching a movie, other person can be playing a game. The only downside to this whole thing is that it is a remote-based system. I can't touch. I went first to touch the screen like it is with the 7 Series. This reminds me of 7 Series. The application BMW did wasn't as good because the screen just sits here. This goes in its own screen garage, which isn't nice. But the fact is that we have to use this. And that feels kind of counterintuitive to the whole thing because I can't see why we wouldn't just be able to touch as well. But I can't switch over onto the other screen. The other user would have to do that with their separate controller over there. But I think the split screen element is good, and the fidelity of the screen being 8K is fantastic. Using Apple words is kind of that retina look within a screen like this. So very, very sharp, and I think it'd be quite nice to be sitting here and watching a film, particularly when you can recline on these much larger seats. And in terms of apps, they've got around about 40 apps on here. It's pretty easy to switch between the two. So for example, we can head into here and go to YouTube, which is one of the apps, and oh, hello, who's this? Useless guy with some more useful videos. So yeah, we can pop on something like this, and I could be watching myself talk nonsense, and then someone else could be doing some gaming over there, doing some work, listening to some music. There's wireless headphones for each seat as well, so everyone can be listening to some different music. And then the trim and finish within here is really, really nice. Again, from ground up, feels very executive. You look at the door panel on the side here with the ambient lighting flowing through it. You've got the wood, you've got the Burmester sound system, 22 speakers with Dolby Atmos, absolutely brilliant. And it feels like a luxury saloon sitting in the rear with, you know, your buttons like you find your electrical adjustment buttons like you find in S-Class, for example. Little lock and unlock buttons. You've got the ambient lighting around the seat in front of us. It's a very, very S-Class-like luxurious place to be sitting in. So guys, here we are inside the VLE, and this is going to be a culture shock to anyone who's used the standard V-Class or the VANs in the past, because rather than being kind of sidelined and using older software and older hardware, here we have everything up to date, right exactly at the level of S-Class and every new Mercedes-Benz. So we have the super screen, we have the latest MBUX and MBOS, we have the latest in terms of interior design, like these vents and stuff that I'll show you, the steering wheel with the nice hardware that's returned, everything, absolutely everything right up there at the top, which is great. This has not been under-designed just because it is a van, because it's an MPV. If you want it, you will get the best that Mercedes has to offer within a car like this as well. Things that remind me of S-Class, for example, are the dual charging bays here with the aluminium finish around the trim here and the buttons. That was something that we found in S-Class. Something that's actually nicer than S-Class in my opinion is the fact that you have a wood trim around the screen and you have some pretty gorgeous looking ambient lighting within those as well. That's really nicely done. The door trims, they made a big deal of the Vision concept having lovely doors. Well, this is really nice. Again, Burmester sound speakers, the trim in here, the ambient lighting, all of that. Really top end Mercedes-Benz. But that first look, it's a real wow, because you don't expect it in this ilk of Mercedes. Similarly with MBOS now, it's just like you find in all the other cars. So you're able to swipe through various themes just with a simple swipe. It's very, very easy to do, and that also changes what you see in your driver zone in front here, which matches then the theme. So this system, very slick, and it's not only slick, it's quite clever as well. So we have, for example, a completely updated map system that works together with Google Maps, okay? I know a lot of us prefer to use Google Maps in cars rather than rely on the native navigation, but now this uses the data from Google Maps, but it goes beyond that because this car uses the Unity game engine to then analyze your surroundings, and it will bring that in via augmented reality into various displays of driving assistance, etc., that you will see within this car. So really taking navigation a stage beyond. The system itself is very slick. Like we said, we have the apps in there. You've got your ambient styles, which you can easily cycle through. You don't need to go through here. You can choose the ambient lighting yourself instead if you want to. You can make your own app folders now, like you can in all the other MBOS cars. So passenger display, again, you can use all the apps that you have on this as well. The nice thing is it's the same size as this screen. How much you're going to use it, I don't know, but they've got 40 apps in here. So maybe you can do some gaming, and the fact that the camera will be looking at the driver to make sure he's not looking is a good thing as well. So that's that. Not completely convinced about it, but hey, at least it's flowing with the same design and the same themes, and it's pretty slick, to be fair, in terms of usage. Of course, we have the ability to control doors, etc. as well from our front seat. So you can see we just closed the door there. And again, I can swipe this side here and our rear door will open. So this is quite an important screen here. We've got the seating screen, right? And I'm getting a massage right now, by the way. So the driver and the passenger in the front do have massaging seats in this best seat version. But if we go to adjustable rear seats, this is now what they're talking about, that seat ballet aspect, where you can change between these three different options. For example, let's go to luggage. And if I say start positioning, now the entire rear is going to move the seats in order to make it better for you to store luggage inside the back. So there you go. You can then have it for luggage, which is better. You can choose occupants and luggage, which is a different setup here. And it'll show you a preview here of what that means. We can go to executive, where the middle row gets more space, which is pretty much the default one. But yeah, all of that, again, this is that seat ballet element where you can control all of this from the MBOS system, which is really, really good. Now this is your third center console. option, which is the most luxurious one. Lots of wooden trim. We've got the 2 wireless areas. We've got extra storage at the bottom here as well. We have the ionizer in terms of perfumes. We've got your cup holders built in here as well, which is great. So all of that is good. And then your typical Mercedes butterfly storage in here. And again, another fridge. Even S-Class doesn't do that, right? So that's cool. And that can, again, it can be cold or it can be heated, which is really, really cool. So this is the best that you can get in terms of executive in this right now. Then the final part of the center console actually comes in the rear, where, hey, there's a video game controller. And we got USB-C, HDMI in there. And fridge, but it's not just a fridge either. Yes, you can have your drinks in here, but it will also heat if you want it to as well. So if you want to keep your food warm, keep the milk bottle warm, etc., that is all doable within here as well, which is great. Third row, really nice and comfortable, just as cushiony as you get with, I forgot to mention these, really nice and soft, lovely. And the third row seats, nice and big. I'm sitting in the middle here. I have the ability to control this seat here with a button on the back. And this is my legroom with these seats here fully forward, but I have the ability to control these seats as well. And you can see quite a dramatic difference if you want to change the seating position. And this can be done remotely with that ballet seat element that we mentioned earlier, where this can all be adjusted remotely as well in this particular configuration. Now what's nice is you'll notice that ambient light, how it seamlessly interconnects both with the trim and the lighting to come around the side here into the rear, so the rear looks good as well. Again, we've got USB-Cs, you've got seat adjustment, you've got heated seats here in the back, more of the Burmeister sound. This window cover comes up as well. We've got our own reading light up here. I mean, this is the nicest and I think most S-Class that we've ever had the rear of a Mercedes van. Even the panoramic roof at the top with the ambient lighting around it. Subtle, nice, but you know that you are in a Mercedes-Benz. So this is as good as it gets at the moment, and it's probably going to get better whenever we get to VLS. So guys, that's our new VLE. And it doesn't just feel like a complete van reset for Mercedes. It feels like love has been given to the luxury van in the car market in general with this car. You know, we've had a number of firsts here in terms of design, in terms of Mercedes just saying, let's put our best technology into this car on the inside and on the outside. Let's not under-design it or give it less just because it's a van. In fact, let's make it one of the best cars we have, even though it's a van. And I can't help but respect that attitude when it comes to making a great product. And like I said, the first time that they've ever really designed it for luxury first and commercial and other uses later. And of course, this is the electric version. Like we said, it's going to be hugely exciting to see what a hybrid one would be like, what a combustion one would be like as well, because there's so many of us in the market who are looking for something like that. This is a great first start. The design is gorgeous. The interior is, I still think, beyond S-Class in this version. It is a truly, truly stunning car. Now you have trim lines that are truly all unique, and each one has a different feel both outside and inside. And then when you talk about the interior, the ease of use of changing the seats, the different seat configurations, all of it is just brilliant. So hugely excited to see what they do with this in the future, particularly with things like VLS, where I can't even imagine how they're going to go beyond this car, but I'm sure they'll prove us wrong. So guys, if you've enjoyed this episode of RBR, as always, please do like and subscribe. I've got a ton of work to do, so I'll see you guys next time.